Okay guys, so we can actually now create to-dos. So let's go ahead and look at how we can actually delete to-dos. And for that, I'm going to be rendering a delete button. So I'll go to my todos.blade.php right here. And right here, when I'm looping through all of the to-dos, I would like to display a button beside, okay? And that button is going to be a delete button. So right here, I'll just say button, dot button, dot button. And this would be a danger, so a red button. And it's just gonna say delete to do. So if I refresh, you discover that each of them have a delete button right there. But for the moment, it's not yet working. But now, since our delete to do is gonna be a route, I'll go ahead and replace this with an anchor tag right here. So I'll say href equals, I'll just put in empty for now. Okay, so if I refresh, this should work exactly the same way. So it's an anchor tag and it's pointing to somewhere. So now, how do we delete to-dos? We need the ID or something to identify the particular to-do that we are trying to delete. So this brings us to route parameters. Now, what are route parameters? Now, if I visit the /todos route, Laravel automatically, our router, just understands that, okay, for the to-dos route, we just need to get to the to-dos controller at index, okay? But now we have the possibility of passing in get parameters, okay? So we'll define a route where we can actually be able to pass in the ID, for example, of the to-do, and right there at that route, we'll be able to grab that ID and do something with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how that is going to happen. Before that, I would like to create another route for our delete. Okay, so right here, I'll create that. So on our routes class, I'll just go ahead and make this a get method, and I'll show you why in a second. So I'll go to the /todo /delete route, and this is gonna channel me to where I have to delete to do. But right here, I'm gonna receive a parameter, and this is going to be ID. Okay, and look at right here, I'm using curly braces, meaning the Laravel is not going to display ID, but it's going to be expecting that whatever we have after delete is a parameter. Okay, so it's going to be dynamic, and in our array we'll define the uses index, and this is going to use the to-dos controller at the delete method. Okay, and what we are going to define again is the as method right here, and think of as a name that we are going to give to our route. Okay, so we're just gonna call this route to-do.delete. Okay, so that's the name of this route, and we are gonna use it in a second. Okay, so for these others, we didn't define a name, but we've just defined a name called to-do.delete for this route. Now, in our to-dos controller, we need to define the delete method. So we'll say public function delete, and remember that we are passing a parameter from our router. So we'll have to receive that parameter right here as the ID. Okay, so if you check in our route, we have an ID right here. So in our controller method, we receive the ID right there. What we want to do right here is actually find the particular to do with ID and delete. Okay, but first let's just dump the ID right here. In our todos.blade.php, we'll need to access the delete route. And how are we going to access that? I'll go ahead right here and I'll call a route method. And this route method is a global method that will help us to access particular routes. Okay, and we'll access the to-do.delete route and discover that the first parameter that this route method takes in is the name of the routes we are trying to access. The second parameter that it takes in are any variables, some parameters that we are taking in to our route. So right here, you discover that our route is expecting an ID. Okay, so right here, we're gonna pass in the ID, and we're gonna say that is equals to current to do, and we'll get his ID. So we are echoing the result of our route method, and this route method takes in the name of the route, and it takes in any parameters for that route. So let's go ahead and see this in the browser. If I refresh, if I hover over this and you look right down here, you discover that it says delete /1, and this one delete /2, delete 3, delete 4. So that's how we are passing dynamic data to our route. Okay, so now how do we receive this data? If I go ahead and click this route, you discover that it shows 1, and this one shows 2 because we are die dumping it in our controller. But what we want to do is find that particular to do and delete it from our database. So let's head over to our controller, and right here we are going to use Eloquent, our model of course, to find that. So we have a simple method, and this method is called the find method. Okay, so we just pass in the ID and that's all. So we'll say to do equals find method. So we'll find the to do with ID of the ID that we are passing from our front end. Okay, and the last method we just have to call is the delete method right here. So we just find that to do and we delete it, as simple as that. After deleting it, we just return a redirect to the user. Okay, so we just take back the user to the page he's coming from, just like we did in our create method. Okay, so if we refresh right now, when we click on this, we would find the to do with ID of 8 and we would delete it from our database. So I click that and you see we are back and it's gone. Okay, so look at this one, nihil alacium. If we click that, refresh, it's gone. So we are actually deleting data from our database. So now we have only 6 out of 8 to-dos. If I delete this one, it's gone. Okay, and I can go ahead and create a new to-do and say created by the team of Laravel developers, and I hit enter. You see I have a new to-do. Okay, and I can go ahead and delete one, and there it's gone. Okay, so now we can create, we can read, we can delete to-dos. How about updating?